All right, so let's finish up with our creation myth patterns. All right, so let's move on to Earth Diver. There are a large number of myths from around the world that involve animals bringing up material from the bottom of a body of water, either a lake or the ocean, bringing this water up, this material up through the water to the surface, often a long, arduous task, often a series of animals who fail to complete the task one after the other until finally the chosen animal, whatever animal that is for that culture, manages to bring up enough dirt either in its mouth or under its nails to start the work of the earth forming. Often a turtle, but usually other water-dwelling creatures such as otters or crocodiles, just all sorts of creatures that live around the water. Sometimes the animal dies as well, so it's got a little bit of sacrifice in there as well. Sometimes the animal has the dirt added to its own body. So there are stories about turtles where once that dirt is brought up, it's put around its body forms the kernel of the world, and then the earth that's being brought up from the bottom magically expands as it's attached to his shell. So a lot of these features appear not always all in the same myth, but these are sort of the elements of the Earth Diver stories. The Maydew of California have an Earth Diver myth, again about a turtle, and same sorts of things happen that you see an image here. Often they're building the earth, the water creatures are, because there's some sort of creature who falls from the sky, usually a female who needs a place to live, so they create the world for that. It's often an impetus to start the whole thing rolling. But turtles are very common in these types of myths. Emergence myths are very, very specific. Okay, I have students who get confused about this. Because sometimes a myth will use the word emerge in some other context, and they say, oh, this must be an emergence myth. These stories are found all around the world, but they're most common in the American Southwest and Mexico, where you have creatures emerging through a hole in the earth into our world. And it's usually a bunch of levels under the ground that they climb up through for various reasons. They're booted out of one level after the other because they aren't behaving, or they're trying to find food. There's lots of different reasons for why they're moving up from one level to the other. But finally they emerge into the world that we live in now. Like the Grand Canyon is seen as one of those places of emergence. All right? So if you're reading a story and they're not emerging through a hole to the surface of the earth, then it's probably not an emergence myth. Okay? Here is an example of a kiva, a Hopi dwelling or ritual place. And there are a series of indentations and things going on in here, but the only one we're interested in is where I have this red circle here. That little hole is a sipapu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not, but it's it's the actual portal, the gate, the hole through which it's ritually, this is symbolic, right? But symbolically, this is the hole through which humans emerged, right, into our present world. So they'll have rituals and festivals and whatnot where this is recreated, that ritual is recreated of people emerging into the current world that we live in through one of these holes. All right. Two creator myths. Pretty obvious, we have two creators, right? Sometimes brother and sister, husband and wife, two brothers, two sisters. Oftentimes one is good and one is bad. So one will create, one will destroy or alter whatever was being created by the good sibling. Sometimes it's a couple who are connected together so tightly that things can't happen, right? Babies can't be born from the earth because there's no room for them. Or there are stories in Africa of women who are trying to use the mortar and pestle, right, for crushing cassava or yams or something, trying to make flour or meal. And because the sky is so close to the earth, they can't lift up their pestles high enough to do the crunching, and they insult the sky somehow, and the sky god removes himself, and that's why it's so high above us now. That's a very common theme. Sometimes the couple are so closely entwined that someone has to come along and cut them apart from each other and squeeze them both up. You'll see that in Egyptian mythology and in Polynesian mythology. So here's a picture of Izanagi and Izanami. This is a really interesting creation myth. I have part of it in one of the readings that we have. It's really interesting, but these two later became rivals, with one destroying and one creating. And also, we were talking about geographically inspired stories. On the edge of this long stick here, a spear kind of looks like, as she would lift up water, lift her spear up out of the water, and the drips of water would fall back in, that would create the islands. Japan is a series of islands, so that's what explains that. Two left, Deus Faber, and the last one is Ex Nihilo, so two Latin terms. Deus Faber is, roughly as it says here, God the maker, a craftsman. So God is seen as a craftsman who creates people out of clay or corn or whatever could be important to that particular culture. The first attempts at human often fail, and these rejects become other things, often other people who the culture feels like they're superior to, or they become animals like monkeys. Lots of different things happen. Sometimes these false stars are destroyed, and sometimes, like I said, they become the disabled people, or they become, like I said, outsiders, barbarians, or creatures. In Mayan mythology, as we see through the Popol Vuh, which is, again, a really interesting read. You can find the Popol Vuh online. We'll be looking at some little parts of it. The Creator tries 3 times to make humans. The clay humans melted. The wooden ones they didn't fall apart, but they didn't have a mind or a soul either, so they weren't very useful. And once the god decided to try corn, which is central to the Mayans, then he was successful. So they're the people of the corn. But Deus Faber means the god who makes things, usually people. We're talking about people here. Ex Nihilo is creation out of nothingness. Out of nothingness. That's what ex nihilo means. That nothing can be literally nothing, or it can be, as we talked about at the beginning of this series, kind of the cosmic stuff that's floating around with the potential for life, and the Creator takes that nothing, that chaotic potential, and makes it into something, often by thought, word. They speak and something happens, or they sing, or they dance the world into being. In the Hebrew tradition, most Westerners are familiar with God creating the world through speech, right? He speaks the world into existence. He fashions people out of dust, right, the first person, and breathes into that person. That's what's going on in this image here of God breathing into Adam, and that person then coming alive, right? So we have a little bit of Deus Faber and Ex Nihilo. So that is all 9 of our creation categories. There are others, but these just seem the most convenient for us to work with.